Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Very grateful, very humble to be joined by Paul Leendertse again. Geez, it's been a while, mate, hasn't it, since I last had you on? Paul's the founder of the Root Cause Institute. Links to our previous conversations will be in the show notes. But, Paul, it's very, very awesome to have you back, mate. We've tried to get this going for the last month and just hasn't happened. So it's awesome to see you again and connect with you again and have a chat today. So, welcome back to the platform, mate.
Thank you. Thanks. Glad to be back and connecting again. Yeah, it's been a while.
What's been going on in your world for the last couple of years? It's been a couple of years since you have come on, mate. So, you've changed from Wheel of Life to Root Cause Institute in that time. What are you doing now and how's everything going, mate? And we'll just have a chat.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I when I first started my business on the root cause of cancer, that it was called Wheel of Life, because I was much more focused on holistic things back then. I had taken a lot of holistic training, and the training that I took was like kind of focused on a lot of physical things and then certain kind of spiritual things. And today I've kind of evolved in certain ways, I believe, and I don't really jive with that spiritual approach anymore because working
Ah,
on the root cause of cancer has just shaped my spiritual beliefs. Like I've had to just let go of a lot of the teachings I was carrying in terms of spiritual things. But anyways, what I was saying is my business was called Wheel of Life because it's like, the wheel of life, it has to do with the soil. We got to look at the soil, we got to look at the animals, the plants, the air, a holistic approach to health. So, anyways, as the years went on, then I went really deep into emotional realms of healing because I started to realize cancer has a lot to do with emotions. And then gradually I came to the point where I realized actually the deepest root cause is really quite spiritual, but you have to kind of reconstruct your whole, well, I had to reconstruct my whole concept of what spirituality even is. So when I started teaching courses and I started teaching everything I've learned over these years, like the root cause of cancer in each part of the body has become very obvious and clear to me. It's repeatable every time. And like all the various tools I've created for spiritual growth and healing from within, I changed the name to Root Cause Institute. I just found like Wheel of Life is still kind of meaningful to me, but now I'm more like a school. Now I'm like
mm.
Root Cause Institute, and I feel like I have like really rare knowledge and yeah, people are just absorbing it like crazy. Like when I've really positive feedback from my courses, like from a wide range of people, stay-at-home moms to naturopaths. I've even had doctors now take my training, which is incredible.
Mm.
And of course, I have my course for people with cancer so that they can sort of focus on healing themselves. Yeah, so now it's Root Cause Institute, and it's been Root Cause Institute, I think, for 5 years or something like that.
Mm. Nah, and I just wanted to ask you too, because I know in our first chat you focus a lot on the emotions, and that first book was the physical, like diet and nutrition, and then so with the spiritual, mate. So what is that? Like, what is it spiritually for people? The meaning or the root of cancer? There's the question.
Okay, really glad to talk about it. It's
Hmm.
it's really complex, and honestly, we could talk about this for hours. I want to make a course just on this,
Okay.
so I'll do my best to kind of talk about this because essentially what I've kind of come to conclude over the years now is that right now out in the world there are a couple main spiritual philosophies or concepts. And like one, obviously, is religion, right? There's a
Yeah.
really strong religious presence, and there's certain beliefs that go with that. And they vary tremendously as well. But it's kind of like God is, for many religions, God is this supreme power that like potentially is a punishing God, is a judgmental God, and but God will save us if we kind of like are devoted, kind of this kind of a thing. Um, that's a strong presence in the world, This is an important topic. You might wonder, like, why am I talking about this if I'm talking about cancer? But most of society still thinks that cancer is caused by physical things, and the cure is out there. That's also a physical thing, because society's just kind of stuck at this like physical perception, this physical focus. But the more complex and difficult areas to go into, the areas that actually really matter far more and are actually correlated with cancer, or not just correlated, sorry, all kinds of physical things are correlated with cancer, like endless things. Oh, this is correlated with cancer, this is correlated, and then, but the actual causal factors, based on my experience, are loud and clear. But I only say that because I've been, working with people uh, on the root cause of cancer for 18 years. So I haven't been focused on the physical stuff. So it's become pretty clear to me. But that's the emotional and spiritual. So can you imagine how many clients I've had say to me things like, I don't understand why I have cancer, Paul. I'm a good person. I've been praying to God. I pray to God every night. And I've been doing that for a year, and my cancer's not been getting better.
Mm,
How many people do you think I've heard say that, right? And how
mm,
many people have you heard me say, you know, I have a circle of people praying for me, and
mm,
I've seen many people not make it,
mm,
like in 18 years, I've seen lots of people die of cancer. And so it's really launched me into like, what is going on with the spiritual realm? Like,
mm,
there's all these different perceptions about God, right? And why are people praying and then it doesn't work? But then people pray again, and it doesn't work, and then people pray again, it doesn't work, and then there's sometimes maybe it does, or like, so what's going on? So it's really, for years now I've been really digging into this deeply, and I've been exposed to a lot. I'm just giving one example here, but I have people share with me specific teachings out of the Bible, and they're living by those teachings, and they're really anchoring into them to try to heal. And then, of course, I'm exposed to many perceptions, like many different perceptions of those teachings in the Bible. So, like, which one is actually real and which perception actually helps a person and which doesn't? So, it's really taught me a lot in that indirect way. And then I've also been, kind of forming my own approaches and perceptions based on what I see works and what doesn't work. And I've been through a lot of this.
mm.
So, anyways, that's the one main kind of perception of God in the world, is that religious kind of approach and that belief. And then there's another one that's really common, and it's sort of like the New Age spirituality,
Oh
which
yeah.
is that God is um well, we're God. That's what it is saying. It's like we are God, or we are all one. Right? So there is no God that's actually separate from us, but we are God, or we are a part of God, or we're all one. And what's common with that is to say that God is not love, but rather love is God. So
Mm.
I used to actually like that approach, and it's a perception, it's a philosophy about like non-duality, and everything is made out of yin and yang and stuff like this.
Yes. Yeah.
But what I have found is that that actually still doesn't work very well and doesn't actually help people to heal. In fact, it can cause a lot of problems.
Interesting.
So, one reason is because, let me try to explain it this way.
Yep.
Um, if we say that love is God, then who decides what love is?
That's a good point.
You
Mm.
know, and what typically happens is a lot of spiritual gurus and leaders that teach that philosophy, they get to be the ones that decide what love is. So
Yeah,
like
true.
a lot of them, like, then after so they talk about how sex is like part of spirituality then, and a lot of sexual freedom is part of New Age. And then you get like spiritual leaders having sex with their followers, having sex with their students.
That's true.
Yeah, and it's like it ends up turning into a mind game and a lot of power struggles. It's all about power, and you miss what love actually is. So my philosophy now that I teach in great detail, so I'm just brushing on this,
Yep.
is kind of something that, for the most part, I don't even know if it's being taught. It's what I'm teaching is very unique, but what I teach now and what I believe is God is actually love. And it's God that has already decided what love is. And the
Mm,
question just is, does the human race or us as individuals, are we going to be devoted to living in alignment with that law of love or not? And thankfully, God has decided, and God is love. So we don't have to worry about someone's ego, like a human being deciding what love is. God's in charge of that, and that's a good thing if God is actually love. So, how do you know though what is love? You have to learn through spirituality. So, for example, let me just give the basic such a basic thing. If you start a business and you're deceptive and you take advantage of people, that's going to lead to problems eventually,
mm,
right? You're going to have
mm,
people that like you're going to probably get found out, let's say. Or let's say that if you're in a relationship, you're deceptive. That's going to lead to problems. The reason it leads to problems is because it's not in alignment with love.
mm,
So the way that creation is made already according to God, it's already decided is that honesty is an aspect of love in a relationship, in a business. And if you're honest, in the long run, it's going to lead to good things. If you're dishonest, in the long run, it's going to lead to bad things. It's kind of like we could simplify it too with regards to physical stuff. God is actually in charge of that already too, and is governing it with principles of love. So for example, there's all kinds of fruits and vegetables that we can eat that are created by God. Mankind did not actually create it. It's
mm.
all, it's definitely came from, we can say, God. Um, like you could argue, no, it came from Mother Nature or whatever, but it's not created by us. But we know it's created with love because if you eat it, first of all, it just tastes so good. Like if you eat a strawberry or a
Yep.
raspberry or a blueberry or whatever, like a carrot, you really taste it. It's like, this is a gift, man. This is so, and it makes you healthy. It works in your body too. It all works. It absorbs and digests and gives you nutrition and it really supports your life. That's love. God's already decided that too. But what does humankind do?
Mm,
Lots of humans are like, oh, I'm gonna make something artificial because it's profitable and addictive or whatever, and I'm gonna disguise it under the heading natural flavors. Oh, this has natural strawberry flavors or natural raspberry flavor, and then sell that to people and make a huge profit when it doesn't even have strawberry in it or raspberry in it. And that, of course, leads to symptoms in the body. So that's how you know it's not love. And you can't change these rules. That's what I'm trying to say. Like you can't be like, I'm gonna eat a strawberry and try to change the reality so that if I eat a strawberry from God, it kills me. But and you can't do the other way around either. You can't make an artificial food and make that healthy. If it's not made of principles of love, it's not gonna actually make people healthy. It's gonna damage them. This is already decided by God. You can't get around it. So it's like if you're really devoted to love, you have to be devoted to God's love.
mm,
And that means you have to figure out what's actually good for you and everyone else at the same time. Like, not just what's good for you, even if it's sacrifice for others or damaging to others, you know? These are
mm.
principles that exist. And you don't, like, I'm sharing this right now, but I'm like, I'm not saying this is true because it's my belief. I'm saying if you pay attention and just go and experiment, you'll see that's actually how it is. So I'm just sharing what I observe, what I think is actually true from an observation and from living that way too, because you could just test it all out. Like if you could start a relationship, just cheat on your partner and don't tell them and see how long that works
Yeah.
before. some kind of serious damage actually happens to you, them, or somebody, you know? Like,
Mm.
you just got to test it. So spirituality then has really become a huge thing for me because, and I've just totally like changed my concept and philosophy about that too. Like I used to think that spirituality had something to do with yoga or had something to do with meditation
Mm.
or had something to do with like the power of the mind. Uh but now honestly that has nothing to do almost nothing to do with spirituality because here's my definition of spirituality now that
Here
I've
we go.
come to. It's really important because if you can really understand this, your life will probably be extended by like decades. If you can understand what I'm saying and apply it. But honestly, I've explained this to people and they don't get it. They don't apply it, they don't live by it. Say it like 10 times in a row because this is so far out of humanity's reach. I swear to God.
I have
Um,
goosebumps, so hit me with it.
okay. If this is life or death, okay? Like it's gonna sound so simple, but if you really just digest this and think about this, okay? So spirituality is 3 steps. Number one, if you run into a challenge of any kind in your life, relationship challenge, even a even event in your life, like a tree falls on your house, any kind of a challenge, especially symptoms in your body, like cancer, right? Because ultimately, what are we talking about here? Cancer, but this applies to just like many things.
Mm.
So, number one, you ask, why did I attract this?
Good question.
That's the first question. And the second step is now you begin investigating with your intention, with your desire, your free will, trying to like considering and not just considering, but searching for what kind of lesson for you is involved there related to your shadow. Our shadow is the part of us that comprises our behaviors, beliefs, and desires that are not in alignment with love and truth, according to God.
I'm
So
writing
if
this
that makes
down.
sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to say it again to you a little quicker. Our
Yep.
shadow is the part of us we don't understand, we don't recognize is even there, and it's our behaviors, beliefs, and desires that are not in alignment with love and truth.
Hmm.
And when we have a shadow, we will attract at some point a challenge because of that, a stress. Okay. And so then once we start identifying what's an error there in love and truth, then we can start going into step three, which is to begin pondering and researching and trying to figure out how we should change our behaviors, beliefs, and desires so that they are in alignment with love and truth.
Love it.
If we're in alignment with love and truth, with our behaviors, beliefs, and desires, then what that means is that we will not be causing or a part of stress. Like I said before, just as a simple example, right? Like if we're eating God's food, we're good. You
Mm.
don't have to worry that a strawberry is going to kill you over time.
That's
Like
true.
if you're drinking clean water designed by God, you're good. Like what do you have to worry about? But if you're drinking Red Bull or if you're drinking alcohol or diet something or
Mm.
pasteurized milk,
Hmm.
right? Or coffee, now we have a problem because if you were to live off any of those, you would die. Like literally, if that's all you drank, you'd and that's all you consumed, you'd probably die. Like
Hmm.
not because you ran out of nutrition, but because you're poisoned to death. Right? Like
Literally.
you drink too much alcohol, you will die.
Mm.
Um, and why? Because all of those things have negative intentions behind them. Usually, there's some exceptions, right? There's some sometimes people are naive and they don't really know.
Mm.
Um, they have good intentions. Like there's some people that really love coffee, they're passionate about it, they start their own little coffee business and it's a good intention. But I don't really understand that coffee causes acidity in your bloodstream. Coffee dissolves your teeth and your bones over time. It wears out your adrenal glands. It causes like a stuck energy in the brain.
Mm.
All kinds of problems, really. It stains your teeth, like it just keep going on and on. Um, so when we're in alignment with love and truth, we don't have consequences. We just don't. So that's why spirituality is so essential because if you don't practice it, you won't change. And the thing is, all of us are imperfect.
Mm.
And all of us come from a specific childhood that was imperfect. There's no way that our parents loved us perfectly. Like, not to say that maybe it hasn't happened sometime in the history of humanity, but probably not. Like perfection, I doubt it, right? And then on top of that, in many cases in childhood, our parents, had lots of voids, lots of problems. They're fighting with each other, their relationship wasn't whole, they were no longer intimate, maybe, or they had financial stress, or one of them cheated on the other. Lots of my clients with cancer, that's happened in their childhood. One of their parents had an affair. Like there's a lot of problems that exist in most people's childhoods. There's abandonment wounds, there's rejection wounds, there's physical abuse. Just a few decades ago, there was all kinds of psychologists, like really well-known ones, teaching humanity to spank their children, pull down their pants, and hit them,
That's
as hard as
true.
you think, as hard as you think they deserve.
Mm.
Like, and just about a year ago now or less, there's like a well-known spiritual guru that was talking about how he hit his son because his son wanted his attention, and he told him, you're bothering me. But then his son's like, no, I want your attention. You're bothering me. I told you not to bother me. I want your attention. Then he just hits him, but doesn't practice spirituality. And if he practiced spirituality, he would maybe recognize that maybe he's overworking and neglecting his son. But
Mm.
so you see, spirituality means we look at ourself. We don't just blame the other person. But right across society, we're taught from a
Yeah,
young
we
age
are.
just to blame the other person. You get into a
100%.
challenge, it's a power struggle, and you got to try to win that power struggle. So there's a winner and a loser, but there isn't spiritual growth, not on either ends.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But not only
So
that, we're
so
taught to like we're taught to externalize the blame too. But then you got the awakened community out there that are externalizing the blame on the world and the politicians and all that. And there's no mirror moment where you're looking at yourself. It's so true, Paul.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was practicing spirituality in this way that I'm explaining back when the pandemic hit.
Mm.
And what I asked myself is like, so I extend this out to the bigger world too. And that's what I feel makes me the safest in this world, by practicing spirituality. Because
Mm.
otherwise you can get lost in all the shit that's going on in the world, right?
That
There's
is
all
true.
these atrocities and all this bullshit and selfishness and greed and like, on and on and on.
Hmm.
But what I do is I ask myself, why do I attract certain things? So with the pandemic, that came right into my world, and hit me straight on. Like, you're in lockdown. And so I started practicing spirituality. Why did I attract this? And as I focused on that and reflected on that, I was asking myself, like, what does the pandemic mean to me? And this is an important question to ask when you're reflecting on especially bigger events. And to me, it was like, well, basically, there's this big force coming into my bubble. I call it my creation bubble because I believe we all have our own creation.
Agreed.
And like it says in the Bible, we are created in God's image, meaning we are creators too. So it doesn't mean we are God, and it doesn't mean that we're this loving, amazing, loving human being because God is love. No, it'd be great if we were all just these perfect little loving beings, right? But none of us are perfect. And this is the reason why spirituality is so important, because we need to shed our imperfections in love and truth and
Yes.
learn to be more in alignment with love and truth, right? So what I believe the Bible is really teaching there is that we are creators too, but we're not the creator of the sun, and we're not creator of the fruits and the vegetables. We're not creator of the earth. We're not creator of how the human body works, but we are a creator with a lot of power. We can create laptops, cars, clothing, braces, glasses, art, dance, and on and on and on. Like
Mm.
there's a lot of power in our creation. Homes, we can even create children.
Yes.
But God creates the soul of the child, though. That's important to understand. So, anyways, now I forget where I was going. What was I talking about?
Oh, you offered a good tangent. You were talking about you were talking about oh, where were you going with that? I can't remember either now 'cause I was so hooked on what you were saying there.
Okay, well, so yeah, the reason why we have to practice
Yeah, that's
spirituality
where you were going. Yeah.
because our childhood was imperfect, and so we took on, adopted, and developed a variety of beliefs, desires, and behaviors that are not yet in alignment with love and truth.
Yeah.
The only way they would be is if our parents were perfectly in alignment with love and truth. But like I was saying, pretty much no one's parents are. Um, so when we're practicing spirituality, we shed them. By the that's what it was. The
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back here. So the pandemic. I asked myself, why did I attract this? And the answer to me was, there's this big force coming, and it's saying, I'm gonna make you safe if you give me your freedom.
Mm.
And then I was reflecting, okay, so that's what I attracted. And then I looked back on my life in the time period leading up to that, and I realized that I was stressed and sacrificing myself with regards to money and safety and trying to hold on to my home and trying to hold everything together. I had all these bills and I was really sacrificing my freedom. I was just not going out with friends. I was not going to the gym anymore. I was not mountain biking anymore. All kinds of sacrifice to hold on to safety. And then I attracted a bigger entity, like a bigger reality, because like where our energy's going all the time tends to feed that aspect of our creation. So my creation bubble was already containing sacrifice for safety, like sacrifice of freedom for safety. So then because my energy is going into that, then a bigger force comes into my creation bubble. It gets permission to come in because that's essentially where I'm putting my life force. So when I realized that, then I essentially automatically repented. Like I didn't say to God, I'm so sorry. I just realized this is my error. Like this is how I've been out of alignment with love and truth. Are we in alignment with love and truth if we're sacrificing ourselves? If we're living in fear? If we're trying to control things like outside of our control? No, right? That's not love. It's not an experience of love. So I started surrendering control. And what I did is I realized I'm just spread too thin here. And I was trying to hold on to a house that was related to like a separation. I used to be married. We had that home together. Once we were separated, it just didn't work anymore to hold that house. So I sold my house. And when I sold my house, I decided I was going to leave Canada, but it was like it was lockdown, so you weren't allowed. But I just followed my heart. I was taking responsibility for my law of attraction. I sold my house. I got myself out of that and pre-existing sacrificial experience of freedom safety thing. Then I booked a flight to Switzerland, and the border opened in Switzerland, not in other countries, but in Switzerland. So my creation bubble started to heal, is what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of
Mine.
sense.
Mine. So like I'm responsible for my creation bubble with regards to what kind of challenges are going on inside of it and what kind of good things are going on in it. And there's a tremendous amount of power in that. If you really test this out, you will see. I guarantee you will see that this is how it works because I've been testing this for years, and like I teach people this, and I help people, in their healing process with these types of things because we're talking spiritual. Do you see how if I didn't solve it on a spiritual level, I would have continued to experience a lot of stress and
Mm,
emotions, right? Emotional stress. So maybe I'd be angry, I'd be resentful, I'd be sad, I'd be, frustrated, like unhappy. So we gotta practice law of attraction, like spirituality. Why did I attract this? And learn our lessons. And I could go deeper and share that, in my childhood, I learned a scarcity mindset. My mom was a single parent, so her cup was not running over. We're always in a deficit. We're always struggling, trying to make money. So that forms my behaviors, beliefs, and desires later as an adult. So I could live my whole life struggling for money because of that. My whole life. If you don't practice spirituality, you won't change, right? You just carry the same beliefs, behaviors, and desires almost that came from our first birth consciousness, is what I call it. We have to go through a second birth. And if we don't go through a second birth, then we will die, actually, just seriously, as a result of unresolved chronic stress that never gets better. Like we can only be struggling and unhappy for so long, angry, resentful for so long before it really starts to take a toll on us. So we've got to evolve through it, and spirituality is the foundation. But it comes with this huge responsibility. It's a loving responsibility. It's not like pressure or guilt trip. It's just like if you don't do it, then like I said, things probably won't change. You just have to kind of like hope that things get lucky. If I was raised with a scarcity mindset and a poverty mindset, why would that ever change for me? Unless I actually recognize it, like see it inside myself. When I was I think even up to the age of like maybe even up to the age of 30, I was proud about how much work I could get done. If I worked morning till night and was totally exhausted and obliterated and sore, I'd be like, yeah, I matter. I've got self-worth. Not realizing that's a shadow. That's not in alignment with love and truth. God doesn't want us working so hard we're in pain.
mm.
That's not right. God is love, right? So why would God want you to be in pain if God is actually love? Doesn't make any sense, right? So you can figure this out. Like as you practice it over the years, you start figuring it out. So um yeah, it's really powerful stuff. It really can make big changes, but um a lot of people think, for example, on the Christian side of perception of God, that God wants to take responsibility for us. That's a common one.
Mm. Yes,
But
that is common.
like God will look after us or God will save us or something like this. But
Yeah,
that's
or
not love.
Jesus will save us. He'll come back and
Or
he'll resurrect and
yeah, or
save us.
Jesus.
Yeah,
But being irresponsible is not an aspect of love.
that's true.
Like if we just think about like God, if God is love, would God be responsible or irresponsible?
Hmm.
It's really obvious, right? Like God would be responsible.
Hmm.
So would God want if God wants us to walk a path of love and truth, which of course God would, why wouldn't God want us to, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
so that would be love too. Then that means God would want us to be responsible. So if you develop symptoms in your body, then you should actually be like, oh, I got to take responsibility for this in a loving way. How did I attract this? Like, was I taught to eat incorrectly? Many of us have been, right? Like, there's a lot of food you can eat today. If you go into the grocery store today, almost all the food in there is poisoned.
Yeah. There's a health food
Like,
aisle, but most of that's poison too.
yeah, the health food oil is just a facade now. It's
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
sellout. It's
yeah.
like it's not legit. Like
Mm.
most of it, like I think I can count on my hand how many items in a grocery store are actually like off integral and in alignment with God's love and truth. It's either got like toxic pesticides on it or refined sugar added intentionally, and disguised as well under all kinds of labels,
Mm.
um, or like natural flavors, which is deception. I don't even think it should be legal that you can call something a natural flavor when it's not actually natural, right?
I'll go
It's
you a
like,
step further. I don't think the whole supermarket food should be legal.
yeah, it's really
The whole
it's
joint.
humanity's really gotten to a place where there's so much irresponsibility and like uh, I don't know, selfishness, greed.
Mm.
Uh,
I got a question though.
yeah, that
What
there's some big problems, right?
I
So
yeah, and I have a question for you about all this because you're talking about love. So with the force that's currently here, has humanity attracted the opposite of love given what's gone on here for the last operating cycles, right? So the last 25,000 years, however long you want to say. So
yeah,
would the big, I got goosebumps. Would the big question be, what has humanity, what have we attracted to allow all this to happen?
yeah.
Because that's not in
Well,
line with
this is
love.
this is the hard part about spirituality because, like I said, it's not about blame or guilt trips or anything like that,
No.
but it is about responsibility.
Hmm.
We just have to realize that we are, how can I say this? Like I it just needs some explanation to be receivable and understandable. But like we really are in a world based on principles of love. Like God has created a world that has spiritual justice and actual principles of love. So, but most people just aren't paying attention and aren't practicing spirituality. It's been so lost that it's almost like not even known. So for
Hmm.
example, let me give you a very this could be a hard one for people to hear this, but this just consider like this is about the truth, right? If we can actually realize what the truth is, then we get our power back. Then we can actually start to change things. Otherwise, we're just going to be in this victim mentality and the world will just get worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we apply spirituality to the chemtrails, big problem, right? Like what the hell's going on? Like massive blocking out of the sun, all the toxins in it, it's fallout, all that stuff, right? It's very invasive.
Mm.
Um, Something's not natural or real about it. Like there's something sinister. Okay, so chemtrails, right? So we can get really upset about that, and that's understandable. But you were asking me, has humanity attracted these bigger forces, these big problems, right? Like, and
Mm.
I would say yes,
Yeah.
because if you look at what humanity's already been doing for a long time, for example, with farming, almost all the farmers in Canada, like if you look at Canada from Google Earth, it's just this grid of deforested forests, like clear-cut forests, and just squares of farms, just like almost the whole of Ontario is just farms. Like there's a lot. And many of them fly over the land with an airplane and spray a big long trail of pesticides behind the airplane over top of the land and poison all of the bugs and the soil and everything to try to increase profit for their crops through the concept of if we kill these bugs, we'll make more money. And
Mm.
as they do that, they are neglecting or dismissing the impact it has on fish populations in the streams and the damage it does to the ecosystem and dismissing the effect that us digesting that has on our health
Mm-hmm.
and on, right? It's just like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. So, like, for many years, that's been what's happening. And many people support those farmers. So they pay those farmers to do that. They say, I will buy your food, even
Mm-hmm.
though you're doing that. So you're damaging or destroying God's ecosystem. That was the very ecosystem that was created by God. You're damaging it, and you're exposing us to and yourself to these poisons, um, but justifying it. So then what happens? Then we attract a bigger power that comes and starts spraying chemicals from a higher point in the sky over top of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. So like
Wow.
this is why if you don't practice spirituality and say, why did I attract this? You potentially never see your blind spots. You'll never see your law of attraction. So the world, I believe God has created laws so that he never punishes anyone. No one's ever punished. But what happens is you attract yourself. Now, not only that, there's lots of different laws that plays, but in some examples, you actually attract yourself. So, like your own choices. So, like if you were to steal from someone, you're gonna get stolen from.
That's
If you
true.
agree to support spraying toxins into the ecosystem, then you're gonna have toxins sprayed into your ecosystem,
Mm,
like that.
mm.
And that's where our real power is, because it says in the Bible we're a creator. So I'm in charge of my creation bubble. So that means if I go to if I go and pay a farmer to spray pesticides, if I pay him to do that, then that comes into my creation. Like that's just how it works. But when I went to Switzerland, it was astonishing. But in Switzerland, they have a real democracy, eh? Have you ever heard of that? A real one?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah?
Mm.
Okay. Because I was I was really impressed by Switzerland. I thought that Canada had a democracy. You're in Australia, right?
Yeah, we don't have one.
No. Yeah, I thought Canada had a democracy. I didn't really even understand what it was. And like,
Mm.
um, when the pandemic started, I started looking into politics. Like, what the hell's going on? I had to understand this. Like, what
Yeah.
is going on? This is like not okay. Who's in charge here? Who's making the decisions? And then I asked someone, what kind of government do we have? And they're like, a democracy. I'm like, what's a
Mm.
democracy? And they're like, well, it's when you know, the people decide what goes on in the country, and you elect someone. And then I looked into it more, and like, I'm pretty sure in Canada they're elected for 5 years and then just get to do whatever they want.
Pretty much in Australia too.
And that's what you call a democracy. So in Switzerland, the people vote all the time on what goes on.
They do.
Yeah. So in like all year long, the people vote on big decisions. The people.
Mm.
That's a
Mm.
democracy.
Yeah.
So in Switzerland, the reason I'm bringing this up is because in Switzerland, I came across all these farmers there that really know how to farm. They somehow know how to farm. So they haven't been indoctrinated with like all this pesticide use. So they have like, for example, I met a fruit orchard farmer. He had like 50 different types of trees,
Wow.
different types of apples, pears, uh, plums, I think it was. Yeah. And they're all mixed together on purpose, because what he has found is that he gets more yields and more nutritious fruit and less bugs if he grows many different varieties of trees in one orchard. But
That's
in
awesome.
Canada, we grow one kind of apple, for example, or one kind of pear in an enormous, enormous area, and then it attracts a whole bunch of excess of bugs, and then we spray it with pesticides to try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And in Switzerland, for example, they spread manure out in like these advanced ways all over the pastures, and they plant like flowers and many different types of clovers, and the pastures are so lush and amazing. Anyways, yeah, so there's always, my point is that there's always a way to do it the right way. It's just a choice. It's an illusion. Oftentimes we think like, I have to do it in a way that's a sacrifice, or I have to do it in a way that's not integral, or I have to do it in a way when I know something's wrong about this, but I'm just gonna do it. When it's not
Mm.
actually true, it's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's We have been given free will by God, and God has made creation in a way that supports love and truth if you choose it. So it's just like with the vaccine, right? Like many people are like, oh shit, like I don't want to take the vaccine. Then don't. But what if? But I'm being pressured, but I'm afraid, but
Yeah.
it's your choice. God has made the world on principles of like spiritual principles, love and truth. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
100%.
But like fear is so strong. It's really difficult. Like fear
Mm.
can be, I've succumbed to fear at times in my life too.
Mm-hmm.
But part of spirituality is like facing fears and growing. And if you keep doing it, then you'll become more courageous as life goes on instead of more afraid. So, I'm not afraid of the future. I'm not concerned about what's going on in the world because what I do is I understand that we're in a world of free will.
Mm,
And the most important thing for me is that I practice spirituality so that I take responsibility for my creation bubble. But I'm not going to try to take responsibility for other people's creation bubbles because I would just lose myself in that. Like, how can I solve all the problems in the world? That's like, how can I do that? The problems are based on law of attraction.
they are.
Anyway,
Mm.
I did an experiment a few months ago, and I tried helping a few people in a row financially because they were in really bad scenarios. So spiritually, I just because I'm like, well, what is the right thing to do? Should I help the person or not? Right? Because they're asking for help, and I'm like, I'm gonna actually see what happens if I really help them fully. So I really helped them with what they needed. I looked after that. I helped them out spiritually, and then when they were like on their feet and solid, then I'm like, okay, now I stopped helping. And within a couple of weeks, they reattracted a whole bunch of events that made them totally screwed financially again.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
all of them. So all of them. Three examples. So that's when I realized the law of attraction is real. Like we have to take responsibility for our creation bubble. That's what spiritual justice is. That's what gives us real power. If it wasn't like that, it would mean that bad things could just happen to us by chance. Like you could be a good person in alignment with love and truth, and then you just get hit by a meteor and it's all done. Or you just, like the worst thing just happens to you. That would be horrible. Or what that would mean is like you could get into a bad situation and you can't get out of it except again by luck or if someone saves you. Like But if it's true that we're actually living an existence based on laws of attraction and they're all built on love, then all we got to do is start practicing spirituality and get ourselves in alignment with love and truth. So it's like, oh, if I realize that even though I was taught that eating at McDonald's is normal, then I have all these symptoms in my body. How am I ever going to heal those symptoms unless I practice spirituality? Right?
Mm.
Society teaches us something's wrong with your body. You don't have to change. Just keep doing whatever you're doing. Don't look at your blind spots. Don't look at your belief systems, your behaviors, your desires, right? Just try to find a cure for the symptoms. So then you go to McDonald's, you get a headache. You get a Tylenol for the headache. You go to McDonald's, you get diarrhea. You get a supplement from the alternative world that helps with inflammation, maybe turmeric or something like this.
Mm.
Now, you're just in this war, a battle against symptoms.
Yeah.
But if you practice spirituality, you'll quickly realize, why am I attracting this? Well, it's because my behaviors, beliefs, and desires. So what's my behavior been released recently? I went to McDonald's. You'll really quickly figure it out. And God's made it so that once you get into alignment with food that has principles of love and truth in it, then when you eat it, it's actually good for you. It's the
Yeah.
law.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Oh, I'm pondering those three things now as you've been talking in my own life and things that have gone on in my life. And it's whenever I talk to you, mate, you always seem to just yeah, hit me. It's good. I love talking to you. This is why. Because you've just
That's the
like
hard part.
yeah, it's awesome.
This okay, good to hear.
Yeah.
That was the hard surprise for me when I did this like work on the root cause of cancer, right? Like when I had the first person that heal that worked with me, I thought it would be like a really big thing that would be important and this would really make an impact. But I mostly people just didn't care. Everyone still wants to chase cures. Like
Hmm.
because the responsibility that comes with transformation of ourself is huge. It's actually really huge. I call it the rebirth, the second birth. We
Yep,
have a
it
first
is.
birth
Hmm.
and we have a second birth. So it's actually really quite hard. Recently I practiced spirituality on something I attracted. Um, I was talking to you about this briefly before we started the recording, but I have a membership at a place and I want to cancel because I'm going to be leaving. So I've I they took out the payment for March 1st for the month of March, right? So then on the 4th of March, just 3 days later, I'm like, oh, I gotta cancel. Um, I have to leave April 1st, so I can't come, next month. And then they said, okay, yeah, so you just have to finish out your payment for March because that's already started. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I understand that. That's fine. And then also April. And
That's
I'm
right.
like, wait, what did you say? And they're like, yeah, our policy states that you have to cancel before, like a month before the the month before you cancel, something like this. I'm like,
Mm.
wait, what? Why? They just said, well, that's because what our policy states. So that made me angry. So as soon as I'm angry, then I realize I'm not in a state of love and truth. I'm not in alignment with love and truth anymore. It's very simple, right? Like,
Mm.
is anger love? No.
Mm.
God's designed the soul in a really special way. Like immediately you know when you're not in a state of love. Anyone knows. It's automatic, right? You can deceive yourself and say, "Oh no, like this spiritual leader that hit his kid. He's thinking this is love. Whack. This is love." Actually it's a trauma to the child.
Yes.
It's so common to say this is love. Even though it's not love, you say it is love. And there's some big events going on in the world like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Justifications to go and kill people. This is love. This is love.
It's not love.
It's instantly, as soon as someone decides to kill someone, you know they're not in alignment with love and truth.
Mm.
It's very simple. It's just so simple. But the human race likes to justify it, right? That's the thing.
Yes. Yes.
Justifying, yeah.
I was angry last
And
Friday, Paul, myself, and I was trying to justify it too.
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. I've been one time, the longest I can track at least that I was angry about something was 6 months.
Six
And I could,
months.
yeah, I could not figure out the root cause of my anger. I couldn't get to it, but I eventually got it. And then I'm not angry about it anymore. I've finally healed that thing. That's a more complicated story. But so with this policy thing, I was angry. So I was reflecting, like, what are all my lessons? Why did I attract this? And just to keep it short, I'll share one that was important. And that is that I didn't read the policy. I just signed it. When I signed up as a member, I just assumed. So now I can start looking at my flaws. Like I made an assumption. I expected it to be a way that I would expect it to be. And that's not how it is. And I signed it. And then I can also look. So that's my error. So I need to surrender to that, for example, and take responsibility for it, which is
Mm.
hard to do because I'm paying for a month I'm not even going to use. But you know, that's my one of my areas of law of attraction there. So now I could look in other areas too, right? Like it's important to look a lot. Like, have I ever done that? Have I told someone, um, have I tried to force someone to pay for more than what they've received from me? And if I honestly look at that, that's not true for me. So it's like, okay, so it's not a karmic thing. And then when I look at like what's going on in my future, I'm going to start signing policies and agreeing to policies in a bigger way because I told you I have a product that I want to sell. So I'm going to be signing policies. So the universe is actually almost protecting me, saying like, "Hey, Paul, pay attention because you need to take responsibility for anything that you sign." And I clearly wasn't doing that. My whole life, like honestly, I'm I don't even know how old I am anymore. But my whole life, I don't think I've ever read a policy in my whole life. I've just signed it.
I know I haven't.
Have you ever read a policy?
No, I haven't. Not even our freaking
No.
rental agreement because I'm currently renting at the moment. Yeah, not
Yeah,
even
it's just
didn't
like,
read
yep,
that. Yeah.
sign it. And one of the things that I think might be happening in the world more recently, but I think it's probably been happening for all of eternity. There's lots of people out there that are greedy and will write shit in the policy to benefit them, even if it's not in alignment with love and truth.
100%. And that was
People
why
out
I
there
was
like
angry
that.
last Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can either get upset about it Or we can take responsibility and actually be responsible and be like, okay, Paul, you got to read policies.
Mm.
And by the way, I figured something out. This is really one good thing about like uh Chat GPT or something like that. You can take a policy, because this is what I ended up doing, a whole big long ridiculous policy that you'd never read in your lifetime, right? You stick it into Chat GPT and ask it to summarize it for you and tell you if there's any things that you should be aware of. And it's just like instantly, and
Boom.
it highlights all the important points.
Hmm.
So there's a little tip for you
Yeah.
if you ever need it.
Well, I'm probably going to use that very soon when I go back and read that rental agreement.
Yeah. You realize you signed that you would like donate your organs if you didn't pay your rent on time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the you signed the policy, and now the police can come and be like, "Oh, Nathan, hand him over."
That is true. That is true. And I got a big, swift lesson about policies and rental agreements on Friday. And yeah, I definitely wasn't in alignment, Paul. I threw the toys out straight out of the cot, mate. I was just fucking carrying on like a little child. But that was also a big thing for me. And I was going through all of that before. I'm like, yep, I know why I did that now. Oh,
Not
man.
not not to say that, there's also another aspect of law that I appreciate. And it's called what's the word? But sometimes policies can be challenged,
Yeah.
because there is such a thing as like the courts will potentially look at things and be like, "Nah, that's not okay."
Yep. That's true.
But the
Yeah.
safest bet is to just make sure you read the policy.
Yeah, 100%. And what we spoke about today, all these laws that Paul's talking about, they're natural laws and they've existed here for as long as creation has existed here. Paul's talking about law of attraction, law of karma. There's so many laws, and I think all this natural law stuff, Paul, should be actually taught and shown to us inside these school systems, but they're not going to be because of the reason we're talking about now. The more we look into these, the more we step into our power, and yeah, I think that what we're talking about should be in a schooling system, I think.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the teachings in the Bible that I'm going to teach in my course that I'm going to put together at some point, but I have so many things going on, it's going to be like a couple of years probably before I can realistically launch that course.
Yep.
I'm busy right now with cancer, right? But anyways, one of the teachings that I love, and I don't know, like if anyone teaches this out there. So it's my teaching. Now, someone else might teach it too. They might see it this way as well, but as far as I know, this is how I see it. It's be fruitful and then multiply. And what a lot of humanity thinks that means is that you should go and have kids.
That's where my mind went just then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the teachings in the Bible are super deep and super, super profound. So I want to share with you what I think that actually means.
Hit me.
And because I've been doing root cause of cancer work for so long, this is how I eventually came to these realizations. It's like hard to say how I figured this out, but I was kind of just educated through all these experiences, like the universe taught me or God taught me. Um, it means you should not have children unless you're fruitful.
That makes sense. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, it's because
Oh,
it's the truth.
yeah.
I love how you're really tapped in because I think when you hear truth, it does that.
I get goosebumps talking to you every time I talk to you. And I've had them the
Okay.
whole conversation we've had for the last hour and a bit.
I'll take that as a compliment.
No, it is because I resonate
So
with what you're
good to
saying.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so what does it mean to be fruitful? Well,
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
if you look out into nature, anything that is producing fruit, it means all of its needs are fulfilled first, right?
Mm,
So a plant got like everything it needed to be able to now give something beyond itself, like give something away that it doesn't actually even need. So if you're going to become a parent, the Bible is saying be fruitful and then multiply. It's saying your cup should be running over first.
that makes
Now,
sense.
yes, and if your cup's running over, you can now give love to the children, give safety to the children, provide for the children. You can hold space for them when they're challenging or whatever. But most of our society thinks that it means go multiply, be fruitful. That's what it means. If you multiply, that's being fruitful. But that's not what it means. So many times this is not understood, and humanity doesn't take reproduction very seriously. It's almost like a prize. Society kind of treats it like it's almost like a how could I say it? Like
I know what you're trying to
something to
say.
celebrate.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like let's celebrate the fact that you finally you had children. Let's celebrate that. But like we're not preparing for it. Like we shouldn't really like ideally, let's like look at this realistically. We shouldn't really have kids reproduce unless our relationship is really abundant and whole, right? Like we're no longer
Yeah.
fighting. We've 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 grown spiritually together through our challenges. We are financially stable, we're happy, we're healthy. Now we're fruitful, we could say. We got a
That makes
solid
sense.
life.
Yes.
Right. Then have children. But honestly, what's mostly happening in society, and this is all tied into cancer. Like once you really understand cancer, I realize this might be a stretch for some people, but like really to understand cancer, you got to go really deep and go all the
Yep,
way
you
back from
do.
the day we were born. Like, what
100%.
happened? How were we conceived?
Just a quick
You look at
question. Just a quick
yeah,
question. Sorry to cut you off. Just
no.
using because you went right back to day of birth. How about in the womb? Does that play a part too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thought
Yeah,
so.
in the
Yep.
womb,
Yep.
lots of theories show like the work of Arthur Janove. He
Yes.
was a really controversial psychologist, really amazing. Some of the best work I've ever seen, in my opinion, goes really deep, and he really has deep explanations for how what's happening in our environment around us when we're in the womb really
Yep.
shapes us.
Mm.
When I was in the womb, my father tried to kill me. So like
Jesus.
yeah, he tried to make my mom lose the baby by literally abusing her intentionally
Fuck.
to try to get her to lose the baby. That's like kind of like murderous intent, right? It's like trying to commit a murder almost, I guess you could say, right? Like, anyways, the reason
Thank you for
he's doing
sharing
it
that.
is because, yeah, yeah.
Far out. Yeah.
Well, of course, if I'm going to go deeper into these areas, I have to do my own healing work too, right? Like,
100%.
so my father, he was cheated on by his first wife, and it was with his best friend. So he was off at work, and his best friend was having sex with his wife, and they had two children.
Wow.
So imagine how damaging that would be to him, right? Now,
Yeah.
I'm not excusing him for then later trying to kill me.
Yeah.
But the reason he tried to make my mom lose the baby is because he had so much trauma that he had not healed inside of himself that he thought my mom cheated on him, and it wasn't even his baby. And she told him that no, I didn't. Like I really didn't, but he didn't trust her. He didn't believe her. He was like so triggered and so angry, right? Going into a rage that he just tried to make her lose the baby. So I took on damage before I was even born. And then after I was born, he left. So I never even had a father. So there's all kinds of trauma. Now what I'm saying is my mom and dad, so back to the Bible, be fruitful and then multiply. My mom and dad, they were not fruitful. They were not like overflowing. Many times, they hadn't healed their relationship. My dad hadn't healed his trauma. They were having all kinds of challenges already before my mom became pregnant. So this is supposed to be taken seriously, and that's why the Bible teaches it. But if the Bible's not interpreted in that way, of course it's not taught, and people do the opposite. And it's like, oh, there's challenges in my relationship. I'm not very happy. Let's have a kid. That's common. That's like oftentimes what happens.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a big deal. Anyways, the Bible, I think, has massively, massively important teachings in it. I can't wait to teach what I think they mean.
Mm.
I realize it could like piss people off. Like, who are you, Paul Leendertse? You shouldn't be able to teach what you like. I don't care what you think. Whatever.
You get
I've
those
been doing
comments all
this
the
for
time,
so
mate. If you
long.
look at your social media pages,
Yeah, I have good intentions.
you do, mate.
I believe God is gonna let
Yep.
me know if I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's just important.
Yeah. And to sum all this up, mate, like, what would be your advice to that person listening now that has done that has just it's like so deep on so many layers? Like, what's your advice to that person now that might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by what you've spoken about today that can start their first step towards the like we're going very deep here. So yeah, what would be your advice to that person that's currently a bit overwhelmed after listening to this today?
Ah, okay. Yeah, I hope
Because I
I
think
didn't
there will be a
overwhelm
lot
you.
of people that listen to this that will be overwhelmed. I'm feeling
Okay,
empowered. I'm ready to go and
shoot.
tackle the rest of my fucking journey, but some people might be a bit overwhelmed, Paul.
Okay, okay. Well, let me think. Just some general tips here, because everyone has different goals, right?
That's
So,
true.
kind of depends on your goals, but number one, you gotta learn to love yourself right off the
Mm.
bat. Like, just accept yourself entirely. Like no, none of us are perfect. I mentioned the shadow. We all have a shadow. Um, just surrender to that if you can, accept yourself, and then really practice spirituality. Think about what I said, those three
Those three
steps.
things. Yep.
Yeah, it can be really difficult, by the way, but just you got to devote yourself to it and you'll realize that you gain control over your life. As time goes on, you gain more and more control over your life. Um, Realize that one of the most important things to achieve as a human being is self-love, to really become capable of filling your voids yourself. If you don't want to do that, if you're not aware of how important that is, then you may very well lose yourself in all kinds of relationships and place like things going on in the world. Understand that God has given us all a creation bubble and you're in charge. You're responsible for your creation bubble. So care about yourself, love yourself, realize that there's um nothing has to change overnight, but if you keep your intention on certain things, then gradually you figure it out. Things get better. That's what matters the most, is that you're just moving in the right direction. So love your body, eat good food, sleep well at night. Don't get too attached to society's bullshit, like
Yeah. Well said.
superficial crap, sex. Um,
Well said.
there's so much attention grabbing. Just love yourself. Like surrender into being more alone. Like the safer place in the world is to be alone and really find yourself and create, like become, live a life of integrity. Um, Practice facing your fears. Fill your voids, create wholeness, have a relationship with yourself. It's the one relationship you will never cease having. Like you're the one person that you've got to figure out how to enjoy.
Yeah, it's
You
so
got to
true.
do it. You
Yeah.
just got to do it and forget about all the bullshit that's going on in the world. Create your future. Like God has made it so that the future that you actually want to have and the one that you put your time and energy into is the one that you get. So don't let your energy be vampired from you on social media and scrolling and paying attention to all these things that could happen in the world or things that are happening in the world. Just tend to your garden, so to speak. Create your world. That's where your power is. Don't lose yourself. There's a lot of people today that are, feeling suicidal and
Yeah.
lots of people, of course, cancer is super high and other diseases too. And it's because we've just been not taught how to actually practice spirituality, how to take responsibility for our creation bubble. A lot of these laws are just not taught. Don't give your power away, you know?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Face yourself. Turn inwards, turn inwards. Go for long walks, man. Serious. One of the
Mm.
best things. Go for long walks in nature, long ones. Like an
Mm.
hour, 2 hours. Breathe. I'm serious. Okay, this is my advice. Go for a long walk in nature, 2 hours. Go somewhere beautiful. Breathe through your nose, down into your body. And when you breathe into your body, just choose to breathe love into there. Just choose to do it. And every time you can think about it, do it. And when you come out of that, when you come out of God's creation, nature, you'll probably be just charged up. And now you got like, wow, that's what you need. You need you.
I
You
did
need
that
God.
yesterday.
You look really
Literally.
bright and
I know
healthy, so
I
I believe
did
it.
that yesterday. I was feeling shit yesterday, and I'm seeing someone at the moment. And I went out there with her. We went to this beautiful waterfall, Gardeners Falls, out Mullaney Way, Sunny Coast area. It was sensational. And I sat on the rock with feet in the water and did exactly what you just said. In through the
Beautiful.
nose, out through the mouth, and just sat there for like an hour. It was unreal.
Wow, that's impressive. It can
Yeah.
be difficult to do that.
Mm.
When I first started doing that stuff like that, like I think you're maybe even better than me at that. But when I first I have done it that long, but it sounds like you really got it. When
Mm.
I first tried to do that, I sat beside a little waterfall and a river, and I lasted like 2 minutes. I'm like, this is a waste of time.
Ah,
Yeah,
really?
I gotta get back to work. I got more important things to do.
Yeah, you just got to
And then I
surrender to the
just went
moment.
into yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't want to, I was raised to work, 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 work. So
that's
I
true.
felt so uncomfortable to be with myself. So yeah, we got to learn to be with ourselves. Like we are the foundation of our creation bubble. Everyone has their own creation bubble. So just pay attention to which creations you're getting involved with and what you're bringing into your bubble and whose bubbles you're going into.
I love talking to you, Paul. You've just, yeah, you nearly had me in tears before just talking about like nature and breathing in love and loving yourself. And that's why I was so bright for the last like minute or so. I just felt like everything that you've said today I've resonated with, and I really hope my audience does too. And mate, I just love talking to you. I've said that to you so many times, but it's just awesome. This is why I get you back on all the time.
Well,
Even if I had to
likewise.
wait 2 years to get you back on.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I yapped a lot this
Nah,
time, but it
you
was really
just
nice to see you and talk to
you
you.
really touched me and you spoke to my heart, and you've done that 3 or 4 times now. So grateful I was able to connect with you a few years ago, mate. I really appreciate everything that you do. And I've said this before, appreciate everything that you do for humanity and appreciate everything that you do. You're an awesome person, a real awesome man, and someone that, yeah, I admire from afar. And every now and then I'll just have a like of your stuff and give you a comment sometimes. But yeah, I still love what you're doing from afar, mate. You're just awesome. I just love you.
I appre I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thanks a
No,
lot.
no worries. Where can people find you, mate? If someone's listening right now and hasn't heard of you and has only just come across
Okay.
this now, where can they find you?
Rootcauseinstitute.com.
Beauty.
And we didn't really talk about cancer a whole lot, but I actually was talking about it in a deep way.
You were, yeah.
It make a lot more sense if you want to take one of my courses, come learn. I've got a lot of stuff to share after 18 years.
Mm.
I lived with people with cancer for over a 10-year period.
Yeah, you
I've
did.
really been investigating the deeper psycho-emotional, spiritual causes of cancer. And yeah, I've really mapped them all out in a substantial way. And I've got really potent healing tools, like psycho-emotional healing tools, my 15-step process, and much more. Um, I teach lots of things that aren't just the mind either. Like we've been talking a lot, right? But I teach methods of dancing that connects you to your soul, methods of singing
Oh,
that connects you to your soul.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Goosebumps
art.
again.
Cool. Lots of things like that. That it's not. This root cause work is different. So
Mm.
if you're inspired, you want to help other people, or if you just want to focus on personal growth and prevent cancer and create more abundance in your life, I have a root cause course. So come join me there. We have a monthly call where everyone comes on the call. Like, well, if you want to come, you don't have to come, right? It's
Mm.
recorded. So if you miss it, you can watch it, but you can ask any questions, relationship challenges, life challenges, healing emotion, healing traumas, all kinds of stuff. So we can
That's
talk about
awesome.
God in different ways if you have specific questions. I really love it. So
Mm.
yeah.
For anyone out there, jump on the website, find everything out about Paul if you're new to it. Also, read his book, The Root Cause of Cancer. That's in my cupboard. I read that before I interviewed you the first time. Speaking of that chat, you went deep into your story the very first chat we did. You spoke about your journey through all the cancer stuff, and you went quite deep into, I think it was your one of your dads. Didn't you lose someone close to you? And then that's what followed you on the
Y-
journey?
Yeah, back in
Yep.
2008 or something, I forget now,
Yeah,
2004 or 2008. 2008. Yeah, I was a holistic coach,
that's right.
and I thought I knew a lot about health, which and I obviously knew stuff, but yeah, my stepdad died of lung cancer. in 2008, and my best friend's dad,
That's
who I
right.
call dad, also died of cancer. And my biological dad, the one that left me, he ended up dying of pancreatic cancer.
Huh?
So the three father figures in my life all died of cancer.
Yeah.
So that's what got me deeper because I realized my training just didn't cut it because, I applied everything I'd learned in my training, but it didn't help either of these two men. Like my dad died separate from me. I wasn't connected to him. Anyways, I started getting deeper, and it's been 18 years now, and it's really I've really just learned so much. So I teach it all in my courses.
I love it. And the link to that chat will be in the show notes for those that want to listen to more about Paul's story because he delves into most of what he just said there in a 1 minute spiel. So, Paul, thank you again so much, mate. You're always so willing to jump on, and then sometimes the universe with us sort of doesn't make it happen. And then when we do, it's just a beautiful thing. And I love getting you on, and I'll get you on again before the year's out. So, who knows where you'll be by then because you're in another spot now. So, thanks so much, mate. I appreciate your time and your energy to my show.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Nathan. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
Righto.
Blessings.
Thanks for listening, watching wherever you are. Jump on Paul's website, and we'll chat to you all again soon. Cheers.